Happy Monday, beautiful souls, wherever you are on this phenomenal planet. Mic check, mic check. Let's do that again. Happy Monday. I trust you are having a really great start to your morning. I want to make sure because, I press buttons and then I don't even know if my mic is on sometimes. So let's see here. Let's see. Should tell me if I'm live. Am I? Okay, good. I'm like, are you live? Is this live? Welcome to episode 298. Yo, we're doing a thing. We are doing it. Thank you for joining me on Shift Your Thinking. We used to do this on Tuesdays. I moved it to Mondays because I was having shows like back to back with Ready, Set, Real Estate on Wednesday. There's no flex there. I'm not going to change the schedule there. We've been going strong. So I decided to move Shift Your Thinking. And I guess it's more appropriate for some of you who start the week off on Monday. For me, I start my weeks off on Sunday. I'm prepping and planning for the week ahead, especially because being in real estate, offers are due on Monday. So I'm preparing offers over the weekend so that they're in time to be reviewed, to be submitted and reviewed and presented to sellers. And vice versa, when I'm working with my seller clients, same thing. We're either having inspections or showings over the weekend, offers come in, and then I'm prepping in the middle of the week to meet with the seller clients. So that's a little different for me, but nevertheless, we all need a little pick me up. I'm really going to enjoy today's segment. Why? Because it says you don't need motivation. Most of us need perspiration. I love the play on words. So if you're new to me, welcome. Say hi, say hello. Of course, press 1 down below. Lets me know you shared it. 1 lets me know you're here. 2 lets me know you shared it. And we are continuing from our segment of Shift Your Thinking for Success by Dean Del Sesto. He's got a great book called Shift Your Thinking, 200 Ways to Transform Your Life. That's a yellow covered book. This is the orange one. Really had a great time doing that. So you'll see my spin on what he shared in the book on our Shift Your Thinking playlist. So yes, there's a Shift Your Thinking playlist. There's a Ready, Set, Real Estate playlist. I've got another playlist on workshops or some other stuff. Just tons of stuff that you should check out if you need that pick me up and kind reminders, right? Of course, speaking of reminders, make sure you connect, build, and share at LA Super Agent on all your favorite platforms. My favorite platforms right now still is Instagram. I really like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is pretty cool. Twitter's pretty cool. But you'll see me kind of maybe engage and check Instagram more so than any of the other platforms. But either way, I still connect with you. Facebook, I get a lot of solicitations and people share all kinds of stuff. So it may take me a while to get through my Facebook messages. There are a lot. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love, but there are a lot. And then I have to go through and go, okay, this is spam. This is not legit. Oh, here's someone who really wants to connect. So just a FYI, because someone asked me the other day, they're like, where are you on Facebook and I'm like, Facebook or the metaverse, right? Where are you in the metaverse? I'm everywhere. I am in the section 11 in this book. It says a person committed to perspiration is more effective than a person moved by motivation. Is that you? Nod your head. Sometimes, not necessarily. I'm not necessarily pushing for motivation because you don't have bottles of motivation all the time. So let's see where Dean is going with this. He says, if any one word in the English language can be blamed for people not growing, making progress, or starting something, it would be the word motivation. Put that word in the chat below, motivation. He says, I didn't feel motivated. The motivation just isn't there. Or I tried to get motivated but couldn't. As some examples. Have you said that before? I'm just not motivated. Just not moved. No. Got to get past that. He says motivation is the go-to blame word for things not happening. And the reason why it's so common is because it is based mainly on emotions and feelings. That's what I was going to say. It's a mood thing. It's a feeling thing. I'm seeing myself having to push through my work, right? Especially with schoolwork, because I'm like way behind you all. I'm way behind. And there's no level of motivation that is going to push me to knock out my case briefs, the reading, the definitions. No level of motivation is going to push me in that direction. Why? Because I prefer to do real estate stuff. I would pick up my coloring book and color before I jump into it. But it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just my mind is like the work, right? Because I want to be at the end already. Thinking about being at the end does motivate me. He says, unfortunately, it is based mainly on feelings and emotions, which are in continual state of flux. Agreed. He says, unfortunately, how we feel can change with little provocation, vaporizing that spring in our step into nothing in about 5 seconds. Motivation gone. Where it went, who knows? The dictionary's meaning of motivation tells a story. It indicates that motivation is a willingness or desire for someone to do something. Then you have it. All the progress of mankind wrapped up in willingness or desire. He says, there you have it, which in and of themselves do nothing and will dwindle if not fueled by a commitment. This commitment will be effective only if it doesn't care much about feelings and won't let them obstruct the path to getting things done. Quote, he says, the quest for motivation often leads to hesitation, complication, exasperation, aggravation, and resignation. End quote. Vulnerability time. At the onset, he says, I didn't want to write this book, at least not yet. That's how I feel. He says, I felt it was too soon after my first book to write a book that was close in principle, but focused more on our personal brand and its effect on our whole life. I wondered whether I could pull it off so soon and whether I could write something transformative. He says, I shared with my publisher that there was another book that I wanted to write, and it was well underway, but they felt this would be a logical second book based on the trajectory of my first book, Shift Your Thinking. He says, while we were in the progress of going back and forth, I realized my motivation level for writing this book was nowhere near the other book I'd wanted to write for a while. However, he says, I was beginning to see the reasoning for the publisher's direction. I decided to take a week and just commit my way into thinking, into writing Shift Your Thinking for success. It was somewhat difficult at first, and I wasn't connecting the dots really well, but I did something I rarely do. I paid close attention to my motivation level. It remained about the same until about 30 pages into the book. At that point, I had a sudden awareness that went beyond motivation, straight into a vision for a book I believed would impact lives for good. It's like the process skipped over the need for motivation and got far enough into the commitment to connect deeply to a purpose. Well beyond a feeling, it became a cause that brought hope of a good work now and more books in the future, regardless of unstable motivation levels. He says, what was interesting to me is when the motivation, purpose, vision came, it didn't come before I started, which is when I thought it was needed to get things moving. I'm going to stop there. That is so key and interesting. I think that goes to the saying, just start, right? The hardest thing to do is get started. We can talk ourselves out of so many things that we initially are motivated by, have a desire, have a willingness to do it. And then because we don't have that fire motivation, that dwindles, the idea, the possibility just disappears. And I really appreciate reading this segment today, especially knowing that I have tons of work to do and it's time to kick into full gear and just start. And I've noticed that once I start doing my case briefs, I'm on a roll. I start to knock them out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this case was really short, right? It was really, it was easy to understand and just to start typing. So I'm excited. Let's move on and then let's finish out. He says, we can move from a project to commitment without motivation and get far enough into what we desire to create sustainable drive rather than the unpredictability of motivation, end quote. He says, so when it comes to starting something new or bring things to a new level, drop that in a comment below, new level. Consider skipping over the search for motivation and decide yourself into a commitment that creates sustainable drive. Put drive in the chat below. You'll find the value is in the doing and not in the overthinking. I'll say that again. You'll find the value is in the doing and not in the overthinking or navigating your way through erratic feelings, trying to form them into motivation that isn't even needed to get things going in the first place. So CTA today, call to action is skip the motivation and dive into the commitment today. Skip the motivation and dive into the commitment today. Get committed. Stick with it. Get committed. All right. That was short, sweet, and simple. Love it, love it, love it. Listen, if you found value in today's episode, make sure you're subscribed to our playlist at LA Super Agent on all your favorite platforms. And guess what? This segment and episodes and everything we do online also replays on our podcast, available everywhere. Spotify is now offering video podcasts. And if you are someone who wants to be a content creator, listen, we've got links down below that you can sign up and create your own podcast in 4 simple steps. I think if you've been sitting on it for some time, just do it. If you're not a video person, don't want to be on camera, definitely check out podcasting because it's here to stay. All right, with that, I say have a powerful and productive week. I love you, love you, love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you, love you, love you. We'll see you next week on another episode of Shift Your Thinking. Bye.